Hey YouTube, this is Zach with Achilles Financial, and today we're going to be talking about Nvidia, and that's because they're going to be announcing earnings later this week on Wednesday, February 21st. At this point in time, or the time that this video is going live, the stock is trading at about $730 a share, which is just off the highs of the overall year to date, which was coming in at $746 a share. And what a run on the year-to-date basis this is, coming up at 46% year-to-date, which is on the back of a monstrous 220% on a one-year basis. So what are the expectations associated with Nvidia at this point in time? The current EPS expectation is sitting at $4.63, which is pretty crazy because a year ago the stock expectations was at 81 cents. So this is up nearly 500, 600 times from where it was, or 600% from where it was a couple of years ago, or less than 1 year ago. So the question is, what is the expectation on the stock movement? Currently, the options prices are pricing in an event where the stock is going to move anywhere from 10 to 12%. That means if you were to buy an option for the end of the week move, the expectation is that the stock could go up as high as 10%, which means as of kind of the closing price right now, around that 727 mark, that means that the stock could go up to about $800 a share, or it could drop to about $665 a share. And that would be the points where you would actually be earning money on those moves. And those are some pretty massive ranges, but seeing what we saw with SMCI last week and what we know of the AI and tech hype, this would not be super surprising for us. Now, this is a stock that has moved an incredible amount on a year-to-date basis. But when we talk about that in relation, that 10% move, that means that the expectations on the market cap movement is going to be around $200 billion. And that is an incredible amount in terms of what we're expecting from Nvidia. Now, if you go down below, one of the things that I would call out is if we're looking at the peers and ratios comparison that's available here, and we look at the profitability, it's important to note that once again, Nvidia is performing at an incredibly high profit margin compared to their peers, that gross profit of 70%. Now you can look over to the right and see that Intel, AMD, TSM, other big names are not touching that. But what's even more impressive is the fact that on the net profit margin, Nvidia is currently north of 42%. So this is a company that's doing incredibly well. When we look at the income statement perspective, if we go down here into the quarterly numbers, it's important to note that on a income perspective, the total revenue 1 year ago, they were at nearly $6 billion a quarter. That has since tripled to $18 billion a quarter. Now, some of that revenue that's being recognized, they are pulling money in on services that are going to be delivered at a later date. And it's important to recognize that should there be a miss, it could be very punitive, especially if that growth expectation of this 18 million, where again, you've tripled over the course of a year. If we don't see that same type of growth trajectory, and in particular the forward-looking forecast, then I think it could be very punitive on the stock. That being said, on a converse or a different type of approach here, I think that with the high stakes that are appreciated right now or that are baked into the stock, I would not be surprised if this is a non-event. If they come in at or slightly above expectations, the stock could not move at all, which means it would be a lot of premium crush. Now, a larger component of kind of the conversation here is that Nvidia is a very, very, very large player in QQQ. Now, this is an ETF that tracks a significant amount of tech, and you can see right here that Nvidia is the third largest holding at about 5%. And if they move poorly, then I anticipate that you would expect to see some movement in some of the other stocks in this fund as well. So you could see a broader ripple effect if Nvidia does poorly. That all being said, the company's performing very well. They have very high net margins, and the forecast is showcasing a significant amount of growth. As such, I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on this earnings event. In the event that Nvidia does well, we also have to look at a few other things that are going to be happening this year, or rather this week, which is going to be the publication of the FOMC meeting minutes later this week, PMI data, which will continue to put pressure on those rate cuts, as well as speeches from 7 different Fed officials. So there's a lot going on this week. If you could let me know in the comments section down below what you're most excited about, I'd love to get your feedback. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe.